Hi there, this is Jennifer. Welcome to Crafting in Carrollville. I'm so glad you're here. We have 3 vintage Christmas projects we're going to be working on in today's video, and these are the materials we're going to use. Everything came from Hobby Lobby or the bins, and of course the graphics came from Creative Fabrica, which is my go-to for all graphics, no matter what the season. And if you go over there, you'll know why. They'll have everything you could ever want as far as graphics go. The first step in my project here was to decoupage those images onto those tags, and I thought I was recording, but I was not, so ta-da, they got done super fast and I didn't record it at all. So don't worry, you'll see me decoupage later on, and there's plenty of decoupage videos out there. I just printed these graphics out on regular printer paper and then sealed them with Rust-Oleum Matte 3 finish. So I love that option. We don't always have to order graphics or order paper or have anything special to make special things, and that's super important for you to know. So I'm just using a regular glue stick to adhere my Santa portraits down to my tags, just a regular glue stick, and then I'm using hot glue to attach those frames, and those are IOD frames from the IOD frames mold. I poured those in resin ahead of time because see, I'm struggling with my eyesight. I have to get right on top of things to get things done, and pouring molds is just absolute torture for me right now. I did order some clear little mold pouring cups, and those seem to have helped a lot, so at least I can see the liquid where it is and measure, so that's been a good thing. I'm using hot glue to stick those frames down to the tags. You can see that I burned myself over and over again in this video. Like, if you see me jump, it's because that Ryobi glue gun is hot. I mean, it is super hot, which is great because it really holds your products, but man, it'll give you some 3rd-degree burns, and I did that this time because y'all know I'm having some trouble seeing. I made 4 of these tags. I absolutely love the way they turned out, and there's a million different ways you could go with a project like this. I mean, we're doing a vintage Christmas in this video, but any other theme that you have imagined for Christmas, you can accomplish with these same materials. So sometimes, when we see a project, think about how you can make it your own. The idea isn't always to copy directly what somebody else did. It's just to use their techniques and their ideas and make them your own. Now I'm going to tie 4 velvet bows here. I'm wrapping this velvet ribbon around my index finger 3 times, and then I'm going to wrap it around my index finger and my thumb twice. So you can see that's how I'm going to form the loops of the bow, is the wrap that I do around my thumb and my forefinger. Then I'm going to tuck that ribbon in the hole between my thumb and my forefinger, and then I'm going to tie that ribbon off. And as I do that, you can see the bow forming. You can see that it's coming together. I'm going to tie it nice and tight, and then I'm going to trim the edges at an angle. And if you want to see this done by somebody so much better than myself, and somebody that made a video just for that purpose, I do have a video link that will take you to my Facebook business page, and you can see that'll be the first post on my Facebook business page. Now I'm just using this brown wax to, get all those details out of that frame. They're all there. They're just waiting to pop by adding this brown wax. I'm also using the opportunity to wax the edges of my tags. I'm just using the flat part of my brush to sort of scrape that wax onto the edges of the tag. And as I add the brown wax to the frame, I'm also using a wet baby wipe to wipe some of it back, but as I do that, sometimes it becomes a little muddy, so I use a dry paper towel as well to clear up any mud that might happen. I don't like that look. I don't like it when the things lose their clarity just because I didn't clean up after myself. So that's what I'm doing on each and every one of those. Same technique, different picture, different images on all 4 of them, but the exact same technique. I love having big ornaments like this. I don't know about y'all, but I have like a 9-foot tree, so my ornaments could go, as pretty much as big as I want them to. And I love to have a few statement pieces like this, just big ornaments that you can repeat a few times on your tree. I love that idea. I'm not anywhere near ready to put my tree up, just so you know, just the thought of it just bothers me. But anyway, we have so much going on. I just don't think I can do that right now. Anyway, so that's how I've finished those off. And if you make this project, like I said, there's a million different ways that you could go with it. You could do any theme, the Grinch, blue and white, whatever your theme for Christmas is, go ahead and use this idea. For me, it's vintage all the way right now. Just that's where I'm stuck at on Christmas. Like, I'm just loving every year adding to that particular theme. It just makes me so nostalgic. Like, I remember, one of my uncles dressing up like Santa and, always knowing which uncle it was or whatever. And, super fun times that you remember more as you get older. Like, it just sort of all comes to you as an older person. You just remember so many more childhood memories. Anyway, my last step in this project is going to be to add that velvet ribbon. Another thing I love about that particular bow is that it's a double loop bow, and they're so easy to make and they're so perfect every time you make them. There we go. I am also coming back with some gold rub and buff to freshen up the gold on top of the frame. I want, obviously, the wax to stay in those details, but I also want the brightness to be retained in the frames. So I did come back with a little light touch of gold rub and buff to bring back the brightness of those frames. So, never despair. There's a fix for everything. There's always a way to make things better. That's why we love to craft. Right? Like, I just love it. Anyway, if you like this channel, if you like what you see, if you're excited about things we've got going on at Crafting in Carrollville and the Barnyard Boutique, you can like, share, subscribe, comment, all of those things. My comment that I'm asking you to leave is, which project was your favorite? Which do you love the most? I'd love to hear that. I think they're all pretty great. I love the simplicity of this. It's very elegant, yet very simple. So I'm just using my same hot glue gun. Actually, I'm using my precision tip hot glue gun to add just a little bit of glue to that velvet ribbon, the velvet bow, and then I'm making a loop with my leftover ribbon as a hanger. So, super simple. I also think that these would have looked really great with like a velvet green ribbon, like not olive green, but sort of a mix between olive and mint. And I don't have any of that, but I think I need to order some because I have some other projects in mind where I think that would be useful. Anyway, so there's my 4 tag ornaments that I made. Super quick, super easy. I'm always showing you how to make things in bulk and make them quick because it's so easy if you just do them, do all the steps at once. Now, I left this part in here because I wanted to show you that crafting evolves. Sometimes our ideas change, our mood changes, whatever. And I painted these frames red, and then I decided that, what? They don't need to be red. There's too much red going on. So I'm going to change my mind, and those are not going to be red when you see them again. So, but I left that part in here because I want you to know that it's always okay to change course and change your mind and go a different direction. So that's what I've done there. Now, I'm making some vintage Santa frames, and you've seen me do this technique with different artwork in the past. My own artwork, I've used cow print backing, the same way that I'm going to do this with the ticking stripe. I'm taking the frame backing and I'm just gluing the ticking stripe to it. That's as simple as it is. And I'm using a spray adhesive because I love the spray adhesive. If you let it sit for a minute, it gets tacky and it's not liquidy and it doesn't seep through your fabric. That's one of the reasons I love to use it with fabric. I'm just trimming the edges there, and then I'm going to, as you see, lay it down there. And I also coffee stained this fabric because it was way too bright white to start with. And then I've printed these images out on fabric. And so if you're curious about how I did that, there will be a video in the end card that will lead you to a video where I go into detail about how I print on fabric, what type of fabric, how I accomplish that, and all that stuff. Anyway, so I don't have a backer for these frames, and so these 5x7 frames, so I'm just gluing the image right to the glass, and I'm sizing it there to make sure that I have it centered in the glass, because I also want it to be centered in the frame, and there's not much I can do to move glass around in a frame. So that's what I'm doing there. I'm making a mark so I can cut it, and after I cut it, I'm going to glue it to the glass. So again, this is the same image that I used on one of those ornaments. I love that image. It reminds me of the Santa mold and all of its detail and precision and just how beautiful it is. So sticking that fabric to glass is just super simple. I do that with both images. I use the glass as the backer. Again, if you're looking for a good spray adhesive, the one I'm using is from Home Depot. It's made by 3M, and it's super sticky, and if you let it sit for a couple minutes, it's not going to seep through your fabric, and that's why I like it so much. Because some of the others, they just make a sticky mess, but this one seems to not do that. And there's a million different ways, different projects you can use spray adhesive for, so I used it for flooring in my house and all sorts of things like that. This one I get a little askew, we'll say, so I had to rearrange it and try it again, because a lot of crafting is trying again, if at first you don't succeed, and see how tacky that glue has gotten. Anyway, so there my images are ready to go into their frames, and you can see, look, voila! The frames are gold now, and they're not going to be gold by the time they're finished either. So apparently today's the day of changing my mind. I'm just going to pop those pictures into the 5x7 frames. These small frames are 5x7. The bigger frames are 11x14. So if you're wondering what a good size a frame is to do this project with, the right ratio seems to be 11x14 and 5x7. That leaves sort of an equidistant amount of space between the two frames. And so that's, if you're wondering, that's a good guide right there, is 11x14 and 5x7. I also, I'm trying to make these frames look like more of an aged brass or copper or, just aged metal. And so we are going to come back and do a patina on all 4 frames. You're going to question my artistic vision as we go. I know it, like, it's okay. But the end, it turns out so pretty that I don't, that just, trust the process. That's where we're at. We're in a process. So anyway, you're going to see me mix paint here in a minute. I'm going to come in with some metallic blue, some burnt umber, a little bit of wax, green, just a bunch of different colors that I'm going to mix up and create a patina finish on all 4 of those frames. And I'm not sad that some of my paint is runny, some of it's too watery. That's okay. It's been sitting around for a while, because I'm also going to add some texture medium, which is sand. It's just wetting sand from Hobby Lobby. So I just bought a big jar of it, and that's what I use when I want to make some textured patina. Seems to work out every time. And just so you know, there's going to be a moment here where you're definitely going to wonder what the heck I'm doing, because it really just looks like a frame with some green splotches on it. But again, I encourage you to trust the process. It's all going to come together. And so I'm just putting it everywhere that, there's no rhyme or reason really. If this were an outdoor piece or a pot or something, obviously I would put it in the creases of, where the handle is, or if there were ridges on there, I would put it in the ridges, whatever. But this is just, at will, just randomly I'm placing patina all over 4 of these frames. My idea was, at first, when I painted the frames red, I realized that there's just going to be too much red for me. I wanted these to look more old world, more dilapidated, vintage, antique, all those things. So that's my vision here for these frames, and that's what I'm working towards. And if you're like me, sometimes you have to remind yourself, again, what I told you, that crafting is a process, and we just have to trust it and go with our final vision. Well, I'm sorry for the interruption in my voice over here. I had to go and get some straightening done on my dogs because they went crazy when they saw the Amazon truck pull up. And it's not because they think that he's bringing something for them. It's just that they don't understand why, he's not coming to play with them. So he got out safely. So, Amazon driver is just fine. But the dogs are grounded. Just kidding. I did disperse them and make them go lay down so that they'll stop interrupting what I'm doing. Anyway, so what I'm doing is I'm still adding some patina to my frames, and now I'm getting ready to add the backer back into this 11 by 14 frame. I use hot glue to seal this one in because it doesn't have any staples in it. It doesn't have any fasteners, so I'm just going to create a gasket with hot glue. I'm using the hottest glue from my Ryobi gun, and that will seal it nicely. These are just for me. I'm also going to cover the back with packing paper, but I do not do that on camera. And I'm using the same hot glue to add my picture to the front of my frame. And when I do that, I'm just counting those stripes to make sure that I have the same amount of stripes on both sides. That's the best way to measure at this point. It keeps me from eyeballing things and getting it wrong, but it also gives me an accurate measurement. So, and I love working with stripes anyway for a project like this, because you can use those stripes to make sure that you're getting everything straight. So you have no excuse to get things not straight, unless you're like me and you're struggling with straight lines right now, which I am, but I'm doing okay. Just want you to know. My vision is improving, and I'm super excited about that. Don't know how much it will improve, but it's definitely getting better. I'm less worried than I was, and less stressed than I was. So that's a good thing. I make 2 of these, and I don't think I show you myself making 2 of these on camera, but you will definitely see them at the end. So watch to the end, and if you like what you see, like, share, subscribe. Maybe I've already said that. This is the 3rd time I've tried to do this voiceover, but I'd like to know in the comments which project you like the most, and maybe I already said that. I don't really know. But I'm marking my front there with a pencil so that after I get the glue on my frame, I can just put it exactly where it goes instead of trying to, line things up again. That's just easier for me, and then I won't burn myself with the hot glue being in a hurry. So apparently I've done that a time or 2 lately, so I'm trying not to do that. That hurts. Especially from the Ryobi glue gun. Those things are hot, just I'm letting you know. So there's that one. He has a pair that goes with him. Now I'm doing this pie tart. I'm just painting the front whatever color of white I have on hand. I have 3 of these, and I was going to do all 3 for Christmas, but I decided that I'm going to keep the other 2 for spring because I love how they turned out so much, but I don't really have a reason to make a bunch of stuff for Christmas. necessarily. I do sell a bunch of stuff, but we don't do a show for Christmas, so I don't need to make an abundance of everything. But we do have spring shows in January and in February, so yay! Anyway, oh, January and April. I think, yes, January and April. Anyway, I'm just using Mod Podge, and this is regular printer paper again, nothing special. I sealed it with Rust-Oleum matte spray so that that red doesn't run. And now I'm just cutting around the edges with scissors, and then I'm going to come in with my finger sander and trim those edges properly so that they're nice and feathered, and so that paper looks like it was always there. That's why we do it that way. And then again, I'm going to come in like I did with those frames and give this a nice patina. I also, just to give myself a better starting point, I did randomly spray the edges with gold spray paint, and then I also used that matte sealer on the metal, because if there is any rust on there, I don't want it to come through, first of all, and second of all, I want it to not be shiny. So that was my thinking there. But I'm going to come in again. You're going to see me pour some paint again. You'd think I'd saved the paint from last time, but I didn't. So apparently I didn't get all those edges off. So I'm using my little finger sander again. And then I'm going to pour myself some more paint. Same combination of colors that I used to patina those frames. I'm going to do the same thing on the edges of that pie pan. And I know that it probably wasn't necessary, but the reason I did it is because I wanted to match the background colors of that picture. I love the greens and blues that are in the graphic itself, and so I wanted to bring those out onto the tin. So that's really why I added patina. I just thought it was a great finishing touch. And I didn't put a hanger on this because I want to have some crushed either pinkish ribbon or some green ribbon. I felt like the red was just too red for this particular one, so I think I'm going to order some ribbon for some other projects, and when I do, I'll add a hanger to that. I think it'll look really pretty with like a crushed velvet ribbon that is more sagey green. So I got to be on the lookout for that. I find me some at Amazon probably, but you know, it seems like last year I looked at Hobby Lobby for velvet ribbon, and I really didn't find any at Hobby Lobby. So I'm gonna have to look again, or maybe Michael's, or I don't know. Anyway, I'm just talking to myself at this point. Like, do y'all even care about velvet ribbon? I don't even know. I didn't ask. I just started talking. Anyway, here I go. I'm adding my patina again, and I'm trying to just really make sure those edges are really blended into the metal. And they are. I love the way this project turns out. I love the simplicity of these projects. They're elegant and simple, and I feel like we all sort of have, you know, things on hand that we could make these projects work with. And also, I wanted to show you that you do not need to go out and buy specialty paper somewhere. You can find graphics. You can print on regular printer paper. There are a million different ways to be crafty. People have been doing it for years. And I always want you to keep in mind that we don't have to spend, you know, buku bucks on supplies. We really don't. We can use what we have on hand. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. Don't forget to click on the end card video to see how I print on fabric. And we'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.